So before I get started, can we give the organizers a round of applause for having accessibility? I think it's really awesome. I try to talk to as many mainstream development conferences as I can to spread the word about accessibility. So I really just like to give everybody a round of applause whenever they do have it. This talk is called Everything You Need to Know About JavaScript Accessibility. My name is Karl Groves. I'm an accessibility consultant at a company called Affixed, and I am also founder of a company called Eventably, which is an accessible event management and ticketing platform, kind of like Eventbrite, Cvent, that sort of thing, but it doesn't suck for people with disabilities. It's accessible. We're going to talk about everything you need to know about JavaScript accessibility by building a dialogue. And so I have this mock-up website here for this super awesome company. They make some cool products here, like tartan paint, copper magnets, AC batteries. They offer services as well, yak shaving, shed painting. Okay, you guys aren't into my jokes, that's fine. Our goal here is to build, like I said, we're going to build a dialogue, and we're going to do it in a way that sort of highlights all of the things you need to worry about when you deal with accessibility. Actually, I'm not going to really build it like live code. It's going to be more like a TV chef kind of thing. Spoiler alert, there's actually better ways of doing this now with recent features of HTML, like the dialogue element. And we're not really concerned about dialogues per se, as much as we are about all the concerns we have to think about when we're thinking about accessibility and creating accessible content, especially interactive content. So on the screen here, if you can't see, I'll try to zoom in a little bit. Step one, we're going to create our dialog object with an open and close method. Dialogs open and they close, so there you go. Now in step two, we're actually just going to create the functionality to append the overlay, open the dialog, close the dialog. So as is typical, is that you'll see in a dialog, you're going to have an overlay that sort of creates that semi-transparent layer, all that sort of stuff. And we'll talk through a little bit about how that impacts accessibility in the future. But then all this stuff does is your basic show hide stuff, right? We're inserting the dialogue in there. We're adding some classes there to tie into our CSS to make it appear and all that sort of stuff. Step three is actually where the work starts happening. This is adding the ability to open the dialog from the sign in button. We have this sign in button here, and this is what it looks like. Bada bing, bada boom, we have a dialogue. We also have a whole pile of accessibility problems. So I'm going to refresh this. I'm going to turn on our screen reader.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Everything you need to know about JavaScript accessibility and
By the way, if this is your first foray into screen readers, I want to teach you your first important keystroke. That's the control key. That's the shut up key. That's how you get it to shut up. Okay, so I'm going to launch the dialog right now, and I'm going to click on the sign in button. And nothing happened. Now, what would normally happen, what we hope would happen, is if I refresh the screen and I tab through. As you can see here, when the screen reader's on, there's a focus rectangle that gets applied to the thing that currently has focus. So if we're interacting with something and we launch a dialog, where's focus supposed to go? Well, if you're a sighted person, focus visually, your visual focus goes to the login thing, but as we can see here, the focus is still on the services link. And so as a matter of fact, as is typically the case when we're creating JavaScript or when we're creating dialogues on the screen or anything else like that, the content for that is way further down on the screen.
Link, home, link, this link. Email address.
Oh, finally, we're now at the dialogue. Now imagine, I'm sure that the user interfaces that you guys are creating are a little bit more complex than that one, right? There's probably a little bit more than maybe a dozen links between here and the bottom of the page when you've launched it. So the person has to tab through all of that crap in order to get to where they need to go. So there we go. Let's turn this off real quick.
VoiceOver off.
All right, and then we'll take a look at what the problems are. Some of the problems are that we have not shifted focus to it. So let's talk about that. So this is going to shift focus to the new dialog. This is magical accessibility code that I am going to teach you guys. It's called element.focus. You guys have heard of that before, JavaScript developers? Yeah, how hard is that, right? Just element.focus. There's another thing that we're gonna do here as a matter of fact also to this dialog. We're gonna add this tab index equals -1 to the dialog. What happens in a browser is that there is a internal pointer that gets kept track of for what the thing is that currently has focus. When the page is rendered to the screen, it kind of keeps track of all the things that are focusable on the screen. And then as we go through all of those things and we get focus on those things, that internal pointer of what the thing is that has focus is sort of updated. So then you tab, it knows where to go. You shift tab, it knows where to go. All that sort of stuff. And there's this weird bug that has existed since the early days of Chrome and Safari that has made it into the blink rendering engine, which means it's persisted. That makes it so you have to have this hack of tab index equals -1 in order to when you should focus to things. Otherwise, that internal pointer is never updated. So we're going to play TV Chef real quick. Turn this over to step 4 in our thing. Refresh the screen. Voiceover on.
Voiceover on. Entering everything you need to know about login, email address, password, login.
Oh my God, will you look at that?
We're currently on a group.
And as we can see here, it says we're currently on a group. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But we've seen here now that the focus rectangle goes to the dialog now. Wow, element.focus did all that stuff for us. So very, very cool. A couple of other things that are still wrong here. First off, we can't close this thing. We have to add that. It also said group. It shouldn't say group. It should say what it is, right? It should say it's a dialog, and then the focus should go somewhere when we actually destroy the dialog. So let's talk about some of that stuff. So step 5. Step 5 is going to allow the dialog to close from the escape key. It's at this point where I want to sort of send you all to a really cool page, W3C's ARIA Patterns Guide. So if you have ever thought about a specific interactive pattern that you're designing a new UI for, or you want to know if yours is accessible, let's say you're using a library that you found, or because who's reinventing the wheel these days? We're using existing libraries. If you want to know if they're accessible, assess them against these patterns that have been devised by the ARIA working group on the W3C, and you'll see that there are specific patterns in terms of how the thing should work for the keyboard, how focus should be managed, what the roles and states and properties are. All that sort of stuff is well defined for you. And one of those, and actually most of those, talk about the use of the escape key as a way to get us the heck out of what we're doing. So the escape key is really, really important. It's the universal get me out of here key, and so we'll add that to our little thing here. Step 5. Here we go.
Everything you need to know about job login, email address, password, login, group. You are currently on a link.
So, pay attention. I'm going to do this one more time. I want you to pay attention to that black rectangle and see what happens to that black rectangle when I hit that.
Login, email address, password, login, group.
And now I'm going to hit escape.
Inside of web group.
You see what happened there? This is, again, goes back to that sort of internal pointer that I've been talking about the browser, is that the dialog appeared, shifted focus to it, I hit the escape key, and what the escape key did is close my dialog. Well, how did that happen? It did style display none, right? And by virtue of doing display none, now that internal pointer has nowhere to go because it can't focus on something that's display none. It's one of the cool things about the browser and about the way CSS works is that if it's display none, it's not there, we can't do anything with it, including we can't focus to it. And so what happens is that thing that had focus is now basically destroyed. And we see here that focus has gone back to the top of the screen. It goes back to it's like, oh, where am I going? It's going to go to the first thing, right? Sometimes some browsers will go to the browser window itself and start over from there. How the browsers do that is sort of up to them. And as a matter of fact, Chrome used to do it to the window as well. Now it just does it to this. But bottom line is, focus has not gone to any place that makes sense to someone who can't see the screen. If I've launched the dialog and then I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do that. I'm going to hit the escape key and stop this. Where should focus go? To the control that we invoked it, right? So back to the sign-in. So that's a big thing, and this is actually of the things that I've talked about so far, and in terms of JavaScript and accessibility, this is probably the #1 thing that people screw up the most. Is that when a person is done interacting with whatever the thing was that they're interacting with, and we need to send them to someplace now more logical, either to the next step in the process or back to where they started from, that's the one thing that people screw up the most, is that part. And it's really, again, what's going to solve this problem? Element.focus. So there we go.
Code. Index.8 voiceover off.
So let's go to step 6 and see what step 6 does. So a couple of other things. Oh, there's something that I missed here. I've been clicking on that button. And clicking on a button is usually okay if it's a button. But what is this thing in the DOM actually? Oh, it's a span, right? Because everybody makes their buttons out of divs and spans these days, right? And by virtue of the fact that I've been activating the click event on this, first off, there's a problem. Is when I get to it, it's not actually a thing that I can get to with a screen reader. So
everything you need to leading that link, marked with link.
See,
For awesome voice.
that's not even a button. That's not a button, and by virtue of it not being a button, it's not in the tab order. The user has no idea what it is or how to interact with it. A sighted person obviously sees it and it looks like a button. But it's not, and so that's another problem that we have, but we're going to fix that later. But for now, we're worried about the key down on the sign-in button. Super straightforward. We're going to do an accessible key down on the sign-in button to open it up. So add event listener, key down, access dialog.open, et cetera, add the key down on the sign-in button, and we're pretty good. But we still need tab index on it. We'll fast forward to 7. And we'll actually add a close button. We'll make that close button a close button and make it do all that sort of stuff. So here we go. Let's go to 7 real quick.
Voiceover on Chrome.
All right.
Login X email address, password.
Login X.
Group. You are currently on a group. Inside of
When I was talking about the ARIA patterns guide, by the way, there's one thing I failed to mention is that those things are not non-controversial. Is that a word? Not non. Sometimes they can be controversial. One of them is where focus should go on a dialogue. They say that the pattern actually says it should go to the first interactable element in there, and so I should have shifted focus to the close button, but I don't agree with them, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, that's what the pattern actually says. It actually says it should go to the first focusable item. But if you heard, it said login X, I think.
X button.
X button.
You are
What the hell does X mean? So we're going to have to fix that later. Now, where does this go?
Everything you need to know about JavaScript.
Again, it didn't go anywhere. So again, I have to worry about working with where the focus should be shifted.
Code. Index.8 voiceover off.
All right. So, step 8 is going to add a couple of things to the UI here. Step 8 is going to be, it's going to add roles and labels to things. It's going to add a close button. It's going to make sure that the button actually has an accessible name of close. It's going to add a role of dialogue to the dialogue itself. It's going to add ARIA labeled by to the label for the heading, or label for the dialogue, which is actually the heading. And it's going to add a tab index attribute onto this sign-in button. It's going to add a roll of button to that sign-in button, and it's going to have an accessible name for the X of closed dialog. So we're getting there really, really close. I'm kind of flying on the talk here, which is awesome. All right, step 7.
Voice of everything you need to know about your link. Sign in button.
Sign in button. All right. So like I said, I've added a role equals button onto that div. Now the smarter way to do it is just to have a button. These days, you're able to style the heck out of buttons to look like anything you wanted to ever. A long time ago, like the last holdout browser was Opera. They made it so you couldn't style buttons too terribly well. You'd have to do like a complete reset. These days you can style a button to look like whatever the heck you want to, so there's no reason not to use an actual button. But this is an accessibility talk and I had to have something to talk about, so there we go. So I'd roll the button on there. I have tab index equals 0 on there. I have the click event and the key down event on that button.
Dialog, close dialog button.
There we go. So dialog, close dialog button. So we launched the dialog. I did shift focus to the close dialog button the way the pattern says. And now I can also activate that button. So let me do the whole thing all over again. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Voiceover on.
Voiceover on dialog, close dialog button. You are currently on a button inside of the dialog to group.
So there we go. So we still have a problem, and that problem, of course, is that we haven't shifted focus back to where it needs to go. So we're going to do that on step 9. Step 9 is going to do a couple of things. It's going to explicitly set the next logical element for focus, which is the sign-in button. In this case, what we're going to be doing is this function actually allows us to assign a second parameter, n, for next, which is the next location. And that's kind of the pattern that you probably should use in a lot of these cases, is sort of where is the next thing for this interaction going to be when I shift my focus. So there we go. Escape key, we've cleared that, all that sort of stuff. So let's do step 9. There we go.
Over on Chrome. Enter sign in button. Dialog. Close dialog button. You are currently on a link. To click the code. Index.html. The editor is not accessible.
Let's see here. All right, so the TV shifting isn't working out too well. That one should have shifted focus back to where it was. But there's still one more thing. I'm not going to refresh that just yet. There's still one more thing to worry about when it comes to this.
Voiceover on Chrome. Everything enter sign in button. Dialog. Close dialog button.
So I haven't talked a whole lot about how screen readers work, and if you've never used one and you've just seen me do it, you might think that people just go around tabbing all over the place and sort of trying to figure stuff out. There's a whole bunch of really, really cool features in a screen reader that allows the user to get access to important information on the screen. If you've ever read any of old Jacob Nielsen stuff or any usability information, you might have heard people talk about, well, users don't read, they scan. The same thing goes for people who are screen reader users. And so there's a pile of features on Mac OS. There's a thing called the rotor.
Form controls.
Other screen readers like JAWS and NVDA have similar features. They don't call them the rotor, and it's not quite the same way of getting to them, but you can pull up lists of things on the page. So I've launched the rotor. I'm going to arrow through a couple of these things.
Landmarks menu.
And you can see various types of content on the page. Landmarks, buttons, text fields, lists, window spots, etc., etc. If we think about what a dialogue interaction is, a dialogue is going to be the kind of thing we launch. Why? Because we are interrupting the main flow of the interaction, right? We've launched this dialogue, we've put this thing front and center on the page and the user is going down a new path. For all the developers on here, it's like having a new branch that you're working on GitHub, right? We've gone from the main branch to this new branch. We'll call this branch dialogue, and now we're supposed to be working with that. unfortunately, and in a lot of cases, people will also do a thing where we have the z-indexing between the page, that semi-transparent background, and our dialogue, and people will think, well, now I've done this thing that nobody can click behind and get to all that other stuff, right? And that's exactly the case. You do that on purpose, right? You don't want people clicking on all that other stuff. You want them interacting with the dialogue. That's why we've shoved the thing in their face. But, as we can see here, the user is able to get to access to all that sort of information because it is still present on the page. Those of you who are abreast of all the latest and greatest sexy things in HTML might have already been thinking about the inert attribute, which is exactly how you solve this problem, but not how I'm going to solve it because this is before the inert attribute existed, and also that's just too easy. Anyway, so we can get access to all this sort of stuff,
Menu, form control.
and we shouldn't be able to get access to all this stuff.
Form controls menu.
Escape.
Close dialog button. Voiceover off.
What we're going to do in step 10 is we're going to hide all of that stuff. It is a-okay to hide stuff from people using screen readers if you need to hide the stuff. Generally speaking, you don't want to do this, but in in a lot of other cases you may want to, because you have an explicit reason to do so. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be, where the hell is it? ARIA hidden equals true. So ARIA hidden equals true is going to go on the wrapper of everything else other than where the dialogue is. So basically in the HTML, what I have is I have the dialogue itself outside of this wrapper that wraps everything else in the body. That's sort of the little trick here. Div ID wraps all that stuff, and I've got the dialogue outside of that, which means now that I can hide everything using ARIA hidden equals true that's inside of that. And so now let's see what happens, and let's hope I didn't bugger everything up because step 9 didn't work. Here we go. Refresh, F5.
Voiceover on Chrome dialog. Close dialog button. Form controls and buttons menu. Text field Windows headings menu. Form control buttons menu. Text field
Cool.
menu.
So we don't see any of the links. We see only text fields that are in the dialogue.
Buttons menu.
Only buttons that are in the dialogue.
Form controls menu.
Form
Headings
controls.
menu.
Only headings that are in the dialogue. So by using ARIA hidden equals true, I've truly hidden all that stuff that the user isn't supposed to be interacting with. Cool. So that is it. That is everything you need to learn about JavaScript accessibility. Applying focus where focus needs to go, when focus needs to go to it or from it. Applying the appropriate role for the kind of thing that it is, and applying the necessary keystrokes for the expected interaction for the thing that the person is interacting with. That is it.